So hello, I also like to welcome you to our webinar. And in the next 20 minutes, I will tell you a little bit more in detail about CodeMeter, how it works, and some showcases. Okay, if we take a look at copy protection and licensing, there are two different participants in this process. On one hand, we have the independent software vendor, the ISV, who protects the software, who wants to license the software, who wants to integrate the generation of the licenses, the delivery of the licenses into his processes. And on the other hand, we have the user, and the user just uses the protected and licensed software. And I like to show you both sides of the story. So let's start with the user. How does the user feel and see the copy protection? Of course, the best copy protection is a copy protection that the user does not see. And so you will see it's just nearly invisible to the user. Okay, so let's start with the view of the user. What happens? So let's assume I'm a user and I have purchased your software, maybe by an online shop, or maybe I have called you and you have sent me an email with the order confirmation, and then I start the software. And so now here we see at first the order confirmation. And in the order confirmation, we see that I have got a so-called ticket number. Ticket number is just a string, and it's like an activation code. And so I got information, dear customer, please start the software. Thank you for purchasing Sample Notepad Ultimate Edition. And here's your ticket, and with the ticket you can easily activate your software. Okay, in the second step, I'm as the user, I will now start my software. And the software finds out, oh, I'm not activated, I'm not licensed, and I get a dialog like sample activation wizard, oh, no, you're not licensed, do you want to activate the software right now? Of course, you can change this dialog and say, oh, this should have my branding, my own look and feel, should include demo version, some more additional information. And then CodeMeter is a very flexible system. And so we can have dongle-based license or software-based licenses which are bound to a computer. And in this case, I am, as a user, choose I want to have a software-based license. I want to bind this to my PC. Okay, now I can choose, do I want to activate directly via the internet? Additionally, there are some more ways to activate licenses. I will come back to this later when we view the process from the point of the software vendor, software developer. And so now as the user, I choose I want to activate via internet. Okay, if I'm using the dongle, maybe I have more than one dongle and I want to choose which dongle should be the target where I want to store my my license in. In this case of the software, there's only one virtual dongle. And now I say, okay, I'm inputting my ticket number. It's a ticket number that I have got with the order confirmation from the software vendor. I input my ticket number and then I'm pressing finish. And now there's a handshake with the activation server on the side of the ISV. And so now my fingerprint is transferred together with the ticket to the license server, licensing server, license generation server at the ISV. At the server automatically checks, is this a valid ticket? Is the ticket already used? Or am I allowed to use the ticket more than one time? Maybe we have something like using it once per year or something like this. So it checks, is this a valid ticket, and have I the opportunity to get the license now? And yes, I have the right, and so it generates a license file which is now bound to my computer. It sends this license file back to me, to my computer. My activation wizard internally automatically activates the license, and when I'm pressing close, I go back to the software and hello, great, my software works, everything is activated. And when I press the About dialog, then you see also that all modules are activated, like base module is activated, font module is activated, and also the additional other modules are already activated. And so from the point of view from the user, it's a very, very easy process. The user only gets his ticket number, he starts the software, he inputs the ticket number, and the software is automatically activated in the background. Everything is fine and everything is quite easy and simple for the user. Last but not least, CodeMeter offers a transparent license management. So it means the licenses are not hidden on the computer, they are also visible for the end user. So the end user sees which licenses are stored on his computer within the CodeMeter system. And if we take a look here, we see a screenshot from the user's computer, and we see that from the company called Sample Company, we have 3 different licenses or 3 different modules, which are called Sample Notepad Basic Module, Sample Notepad Font Module, and Sample Notepad Hex View Module. And so this means we have purchased the Enterprise Edition, which includes all 3 parts of the software. What we see here is also a very typical example for one strategy in software monetization, which means that the ISV divides the software into many different pieces, many different modules, and says, okay, I will sell this module one by one. Maybe there's a basic version for my smaller customers, and there's an enterprise or ultimate edition for the experienced advanced users, and so we can reach different target groups. So with the small version, just the single Sample Notepad Basic modules, maybe he reaches some smaller customers, and in this case with my ultimate edition, I will reach the advanced customers. And so this is one part of the strategy, to divide my software into a lot of different pieces and sell them separately to get as much money out of my software as it is possible. Yeah, so this was some of the view of the user. And now let's take a look at the software vendor. And if you take a look at a software vendor, we need to take a look at 3 different sites. In the center, we have our technology CodeMeter. CodeMeter means, on one hand, we have our real secure hardware-based copy protection solution, which includes CodeMeter dongles. CodeMeter dongles, which are available in USB version or SD card, CF card, as you already have seen in the presentation of Oliver. On the other hand, we have also software licenses, which means licenses which are bound to the computer, which we have seen in my demonstration. And the software licenses, we call them CodeMeter SmartBind. And also part of the technology is the software license models, which means which license models do you want to have, something like single user licenses, trial licenses, network licenses, but also we come back to the different license models later. Around this core technology, we have 2 different issues. One issue is to integrate CodeMeter into my software, so software integration. And here we will have a short look at our tools, which are called AX Protector and IX Protector. AX Protector is a wrapper around the whole software, and IX Protector means encrypting and protecting single functions, single modules of our software. And last but not least, we'll also have a small view at the back office integration. The product which we have here is called CodeMeter License Central. And with CodeMeter License Central, we can generate licenses, we can deliver licenses, and we will manage licenses, which customer has which licenses, how often has he activated the same license, has he activated different licenses, license portals for enterprise customers. So a lot of stuff about integrating my processes and the processes and the software delivery at the side of the user. Let's start with a small view at the CodeMeter technology. And as promised, let's talk about license models. And on one hand, CodeMeter can realize nearly every license model. I haven't found one license model which I could not realize with CodeMeter. Maybe you will find one, then please come back to me. And on the other hand, we have our product item options, which are the technical implementation of the license models in our code meta system. License models that we have already realized are single user licenses, which mean a license which is connected to one dongle or one single PC. You can use it on this PC or together with this one dongle. Then, of course, floating network licenses, which means concurrent licenses. The license file or the license dongle is connected or stored on one server in the network, and then a defined amount of users can use the license at the same time. So maybe it's a 5-user license, and then 5 users can start my sample notepad, and if the 6th user wants to start sample notepad, he gets an error message, sorry, all licenses are already in use. Software renting, which means the software is not purchased. You rent the software, let's say for 1 month or for one year, and then you have to renew the license. Pay-per-use license, which means you don't purchase the license or purchase the software. You get the software maybe for a lower price or get the software for free, but you need to purchase per action. An action could be printing something, importing something, exporting something, doing a special calculation, and so pay-per-use licensing is also a thing which is which will grow in the near future, especially if you think of software licensing in the cloud. Pay-per-use licenses will get more and more importance, especially in the cloud. Modular licensing, what we already have seen with my sample notepad. I'm selling my basic module, my font module, my hex module, and maybe some additional modules to have the same product bundled in different versions, and then to reach different target groups and different markets with one software product. Trial licenses or demo licenses, which are technically very similar to software renting, meaning I get a license, I can use the license for 30 days, 90 days, and within the 90 days I get some offers like, oh, you should purchase the license now, and if you purchase it exactly now or within the next 2 hours, you will get a discount of 5%, please purchase it now, something like this. And of course, some other license models like downgrade licenses and software assurances, which are technical, also strong, connected together. A downgrade license could mean the user purchases your current version, but you give him the right to use the old version. This totally makes sense if your customer is a big enterprise and he has purchased one software version of you. Now you have released a new version. But this enterprise has qualified your former version and says, okay, this is the qualified version that we want to use, and we want to use the same solution at any workstation, and so we will not have different versions at different workstations, and so we like to purchase the old version. But maybe you don't want to sell the old version because you want to sell your new version with your new price model. But then you can say, okay, for my enterprise customers, I give them a downgrade right, which means the customer purchases the new version, but instead of using one new version, he gets the right to use one older or one former version, and then he can just refill all the new versions, and at some point in time, maybe in half a year or in 1 year, he can switch to the new version, but he has the same version installed now at any computer. Software assurance is the other part, which means the customer purchases your software together with a software assurance or software maintenance, software upgrade contract, and then the customer gets upgrades maybe within 1 year for free. So he purchases software, he purchases 1 year free upgrades, which is realized in the license model, and then you can release your software, the customer can download the software. And if this is within this maintenance period, he gets the software for free and he can just install it and use it without any things that you need to do in your database. And after 1 year, he gets a message, oh, your maintenance contract has timed out, you should renew your maintenance contracts. Of course, you can use the all older versions unlimited time, so there's no expiration time. But if you want to have the new version, then please pay maintenance or software assurance for the next year. Of course, also high availability licenses like overflow licenses, which means I'm getting more licenses than I have purchased, like 2 of 3 concepts, so I have 3 license servers and 2 of them needs to be up and 1 can be down, or like cold standby, hot standby licenses, of course, can be realized with CodeMeter. Yeah, and on the other hand, we have our product item options, which are the technical stuff that you can program in a license, for instance the text, for instance the license quantity, which can be used for floating licenses, expiration time or usage period, which can be used for renting and for trial versions, maintenance period, which can be used for downgrade licenses, and software assurance. And so there are a lot of different technical descriptions which can be used to realize all these license models. You can use one of these options, and of course you can use all of these options in any possible combination. So all options can be combined together, which means I can have a single user license plus 2 floating network licenses just for 1 day and 1 pay-per-use license for the same software. So everything can be combined totally free. Okay, now we have seen that we can realize a lot of different license models. Now is the question, where should we store this license information? And we're offering 2 different ways. One way is we can store this in a CM dongle, which has a secure smart card chip. The license now is mobile. You can move it from one computer to another computer. A dongle, of course, offers the best of breed technology, best of breed security, which is currently available. And by the way, in our case of CodeMeter, all license information is stored in the dongle. So the dongle is not only a thing like, oh, it's a binding information and there's a license file. So no, there is no additional license file. In case of usage of a CodeMeter dongle, all information, all licensing stuff is stored in one dongle, and if you transfer it to another computer, all the stuff is instantly available on this computer, and you do not need to transfer any license files or this. The other way is we call this smart bind, which means we bind a license to the properties of the PC, of the computer. And smart bind means we have a dynamic fingerprint. So it's not statically like maybe you have made your own homegrown solution and you say, okay, I will use the hard drive or I will use the MAC address, and that's it. In case of smart bind, we will use a lot of different properties, and there is a tolerance level, but we will see a little bit more details about this CodeMeter smart bind on the next slides. So let's take a look. How does smart bind work? In our software, we have a catalog of possible binding properties. For instance, there are many different hard disks, or could be many different hard disks in the computer. There could be a MAC address, 2 MAC addresses, more MAC addresses. Typically, a computer has a CPU. The CPU can have a CPU type. It's an Intel processor or an AMD processor. It could have a CPU ID. In some cases, the CPU ID is available. In other cases, like an AMD, CPU ID is not available. The computer has a TPM chip and a lot of different more properties. And so we have a catalog of many different properties, and we have different weights of the different properties. So for instance, a CPU ID or TPM ID, as you see here, is a very, very good property. So it has a big weight, and so it has more influence on the binding value. And the CPU type or the MAC address has also only small influence because it's a not so good property. Okay, and now what happens? Now we have our big catalog, and now we find out which properties are available on this computer. Let's say we have a hardware ID, let's say we have a MAC address, only one. Let's say we have a CPU, we can get a CPU type. Let's say we have some other properties. Okay, and now we take these available properties and we will combine this, and we call this now the property vector. So this now is our effective property vector. And now we say, oh, we will add some redundancy to this property vector. So and typically we add 30% redundancy to this property vector, but you can say, oh, I want to have more or less, so you can switch it to strict, which means only 10% redundancy, or you can switch it to loose, which means only 50% redundancy, or you can keep our standard, which is the best way, and which means 30% redundancy. So, and now we take this property vector and generate a fingerprint out of this property vector, and we will store, of course, our redundancy bits, and we will store an inventory list, which means we know which properties are located at which place of our property vector, which is very important if we will recalculate the property vector for the checking of the license at a later state. So now what happens when we check the license? We have our catalog. Here I have marked already the license or the things that we have in our property vector. Okay, now we find out which properties are available now. Let's say the hardware ID is now currently available. Oh, but maybe I have turned off my Wi-Fi adapter, and so this MAC address is no longer available, but I have turned on the other adapter, and now a second MAC address is available. CPU type, I haven't changed the CPU. All the other properties have not changed, and so everything is fine. So, and now we will use our inventory list to find out which property belongs at which place. And now we will try to reconstruct our property vector, and we can do this, hardware ID, CPU type, CPU ID, all the other stuff, but the MAC address 1 is missing. And we already know, because our inventory list, that MAC address 2 will not fit into this gap, because yeah, it's the wrong MAC address. But we have our redundancy bits. And if the gap that we have now, the remaining gap, is less than our 30%, then we can refill this gap. Everything is fine. We can recalculate the fingerprint because we have reconstructed our property vector, and now the license is still valid. Everything is fine. And so that means if a user changes some minor things like turning off MAC addresses, so turning on Wi-Fi and so on, or maybe exchanging of a hard drive, maybe exchanging of some other smaller, not so important properties, the binding will still remain, and he needs to change a lot until the binding becomes broken. Let's take a look at a broken binding, how this looks like. So the same stuff, my catalog. And now let's assume that I have changed the CPU. Maybe I have found CPU of the same type, but of course with a different CPU ID. And so, okay, these are the current available properties. And now we reconstruct our property vector as we've seen before. But now we have two gaps. Now we will take our redundancy bits to refill the gaps. But the total gap is more than our 30%. And so there's a remaining gap, missing part of the property vector. We cannot reconstruct the complete vector, and so now the binding becomes invalid, and now the software cannot be used without any new activation. So the customer now needs to rehost or to reactivate the software, otherwise he cannot use it because he changed his computer too much. And so if you have such a big thing like CPU ID or TPM chip or other important things, then in most cases it's really a different computer. And so everything works very, very well with CodeMeter SmartBind. Yeah, that was how can a license be stored on a computer. Now let's take a look how can we integrate CodeMeter into our products. And there are three different ways. One way is an automatic protection. We call this AX Protector. AX Protector is a wrapper which automatically wraps the complete whole software and puts this in a shell, in an envelope, and make sure that the software only can be decrypted and started if the fitting license is available. So it's not only a check, yes, no. In the license there are some keys stored, some AES keys, and only if the keys are available and usable, only in this case the software can be decrypted and used. So it's a combination of encryption and license checking. And this technology is available for Windows applications, of course 32 and 64-bit, for macOS applications, OS X applications, for Linux applications, for .NET applications, .NET assemblies, for Java applications, on server-based Java applications, standalone, on computers, and of course also for embedded systems like VxWorks and some other technologies. It's also possible to do more individual stuff within your software itself, and with the IX protector you can divide your software into many different small pieces and encrypt all them one by one, which means that these pieces will be decrypted in the memory at a time when they are needed. So this means that the software is not completely decrypted in the memory, which makes it very hard to make a memory dump and to reconstruct the complete software. So with the IX protector you can improve the security level on a very easy way, improve it very, very good. And last but not least, we have a standard API, which means just checking licenses, asking is the license there, yes, yes or no. Why do I need a wrapper? Just a few words about this. Here I have an application with a simple API call, and in case of an .NET or Java application, the code can be reverse engineered very, very easily. This tool, which is called Reflector, but there are many similar tools also for Java or other tools for .NET. And you just take the ready compiled application, the release version, and it shows you the C# code or Visual Basic code. And then here we see, oh, there's a license check. And what does a hacker do? There are some plugins for these tools, and I say, okay, I want to remove the license check. So I click here, replace all with code. Then I'm generating a code which says return true. I implement return true, and now the application is cracked. And this is quite simple, so meaning simple API checks are not a good idea for Java applications, .NET applications. Of course, also not for native applications, but especially for Java and .NET, it's terrible to have only API calls. And so here look of an obfuscated application, which makes it a little bit more harder to crack, but the code is still readable. And the solution to this is our AX and IX protector for .NET. Here's the compiled application with the header information, some code info or some code in it, and our AX IX protector extracts the code, generates a new application, which means which looks in the same way as the original application, the same modules, the same functionality or same function names, but now only includes some stub code, so some code without your intellectual properties. And we implement our own, or we put our own AX engine to your software, and we will take the original code, encrypt the original code, each method one by one, and we will put this code with your intellectual properties encrypted at the end of the application. So now, if we take these hacker tools, we see that we only see encrypted code. We see a little bit of our stub code. By the way, with the new version, you not even see this code, but this is with the old version, so you can see our stub code, and then you see that you only see encrypted code, and so the cracker cannot see your intellectual property, and of course he cannot remove some checks in the application. So code is no longer readable. And last but not least, let's go to the back office integration. How can we generate and deliver licenses to our users? And at the beginning we saw we have an online activation server. We call this CodeMinter License Central. you, the software vendor, you connect to the online server and say, okay, I have sold this item ID, this stock keeping unit, this part number, so an identifier for the module, the license that you want to sell. I have sold this SKU to this customer. License Central generates this ticket, this activation code. All you need to do is to deliver this ticket to your customer, to the user. And the user, as we have seen in the beginning of my demonstration, he starts the software, he inputs the ticket and fingerprint will be sent to License Central. License Central automatically generates the license file, or this license update file in case of a dongle, and then the dongle is reprogrammed or the license file is stored on the computer of the user. There are many ways to integrate License Central into your processes. License Central consists of a database, an application server with the business logic, and of course a ready-to-use user interface. So you can use License Central, as you see here, as a standalone product. Or you can integrate License Central in your ERP system or CRM system. That means generating of tickets automatically. And you can integrate License Central into e-commerce solutions like Digital River, like AskNet, like Cleverbridge, like Avantgate, which are located in the cloud and have a connector located in a demilitarized zone, which connects from the Digital River e-commerce solution to your License Central. And so the user goes to the DR shop, he purchases the license or your licenses, your software, he just pays via credit card, and then the shop, the Digital River e-commerce solution, automatically gets the ticket, delivers the ticket as the serial number, and that's it. So you don't have to do anything manually. All the stuff is available automatically. It's also possible to integrate Salesforce as a CRM solution, so generating licenses from Salesforce is also a possible way. And of course, the customer, the user, can automatically activate licenses via this activation wizard we have seen, or he can also activate licenses via browser. I have some screenshots of the browser at the end of my presentation. And last but not least, you can build your own in-house application which helps you creating licenses, pre-programming dongles, and so on. We can have this license activation online, which means the activation wizard directly speaks with License Central, gets the license file back, sending a receipt. And on the other way or other hand, there's also an offline activation, which means the user manually, half automatically generates a license request file. He can send or upload this license request file to you, to the vendor, and the user itself on a web page, or you in your internal tools, you can generate the update file, send this update file back to the user, and the user now can activate the license. And so there's also an offline way via file transfer available, so the computer where the license needs to be activated does not need to be online the whole time. Here, just a reminder of the activation wizard. And last but not least, this is the license portal, which is similar to the license or the activation wizard, but now based on web technology. So the user goes to the portal, he inputs his ticket number, then he sees which licenses are included. He can activate one license, or he can activate all licenses at once. And of course, this license portal is available in many different languages: in German, in English, in Spanish, in Russian, and so on. Yeah, and here there's also the offline way how you can download license files offline. This portal, of course, can be customized so that it has your look and feel. Here are some samples which we already did in the past in different projects, and so that the customer will not see any of Wibu-Systems or CodeMeter slides or CodeMeter pages. So all the stuff can be customized so that it has your own look and feel.